Hey guys, I'm Jeff from Ottawa Bike and Trail, and I'm here to tell you all about the brand new Surly Straggler. The Surly Straggler has been a staple in the Surly lineup since 2014. That's right, this bike's been around for 11 years, has not changed much. It's always been considered an all-around, do-it-all, Swiss Army knife of a bike. Whether you're commuting, riding gravel, doing a little bit of light touring, the Surly Straggler can do it all. When it came out in 2014, it was really considered a successor to the much-loved Crosscheck. What made it different from the Crosscheck is it was disc brake as opposed to rim brake, had a few other bells and whistles that the Crosscheck didn't have. Eventually, the Crosscheck was retired and the Straggler became the main bike in that type of design. One of the things we love about Surly is they don't change things without a good reason, and a lot of times their bikes don't change over the years, and that's the case of the Straggler. But when they do change things, they make big changes, and that's what we have here. This is a brand new bike. They've completely redesigned the frame, completely redesigned the concept, made all kinds of changes, and we're gonna walk you through all of them in this video. I hope you enjoy. Check it out. Hey guys, before we get into the video, I just want to let you know that we here at Ottawa Bike and Trail are a Surly Intergalactic destination dealer. And that just means that we have all of the latest Surly bikes here for you to touch, feel, and test ride. So come on down and check it out. Also, that means we have a great selection of Surly parts and accessories. We also have a lot of great shop merch. So check out our website, ottawabikeandtrail.com. If you purchase something, it really helps us out, helps us keep the lights on, also helps us make content for this channel. So we appreciate all of your support in that way. But if you don't want to buy anything, why not like and subscribe to our channel? It helps people find us and helps us out a lot. We really appreciate all of your support. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So actually, Surly came up with two new Stragglers. They've got a GRX model, which I'm going to talk about here, and another model that I'll get into in a minute. But let's go through the frame changes. These will be the same for both of the released Straggler models. All right, so let's talk about the frame differences. The biggest thing you're going to notice is that the older Straggler has a very traditional double diamond frame design, whereas the new Straggler has a little more modern gravel bike geometry with a sloping top tube, a little slacker front end for a little more stable ride. The fork on this bike has been completely redesigned. And there's a reason for that, which I'll explain in a moment. We still have the same number of mounting points on the front fork, so no change there really. On the down tube, we did get an additional mounting point here. Still got the two here, two underneath. And in fact, so this is actually new. The two mounting points underneath were not on the old Straggler. We have the same rack mounts in the back. All right, so the biggest change I think that most people are going to really find a welcome change is right here. Quick release, rear dropout. Sliding rear dropout, so you can single speed this bike, but a lot of folks have been talking about the fact that Surly is still using quick release in 2025. Well, that's all changed. We've got a thru-axle, both front and rear thru-axle. So that's a huge change.
So the old Straggler uses a forward exiting horizontal dropout. and it uses set screws to allow you to micro adjust the placement of the wheel in the rear dropout. This allows for chain tension adjustments if you're going to run a single speed. It also allows you to make micro adjustments for fenders. However, it also makes the process of removing the rear wheel more complicated. As you can see here, taking the wheel out with the thru-axle is a much simpler process. So you're giving up the ability to run a single speed without some other solution, but in my view, it's definitely a big improvement.
So there we have the thru-axle view from the other side. The other thing you notice, flat mount disc brakes. So the old bike had quick release here and post mount disc brakes. Cable actuated on the old bike. Hydraulic GRX on the new bike. But yeah, flat mount front and rear, thru-axle, really nice rear dropout design here. Still using Natch tubing, which is their proprietary design for their bikes. Sticking with the externally routed cables, which I like. New bike also has internal routing for a dropper post. This particular model comes with the dropper post. All right, so to go along with the sloping top tube, we also have an increased stack height. So the bike's gonna ride a little more upright. According to the frame specs, the tire clearance is about the same, but the old model came with the 700 by 41 Surly canards, and the new one has 700 by 45 Terravale Washburn tires. Still plenty of clearance. According to Surly, we can go up to 50. I may try put a set of 50s on this just to test that theory. All right, so one of the other big changes with this bike is the head tube. So this bike has a 44 millimeter head tube, and the old bike had a 1 1/8 inch head tube. And the benefit of that is it allows you to use many different forks. So if you have a carbon fork with a tapered steer tube, you can make it work with this head tube. Also allowed them to use larger diameter top tube and down tube, so that helps with the ride quality. So let's talk about the specifications on this particular bike. So we're running Shimano GRX 2x drivetrain. So if you 2x fans out there, you're gonna love this. 4630 front chainring. So Shimano GRX rear derailleur, 11 to 36 rear cassette. So plenty of range.
So I was very interested to see if the new frame would yield any weight savings. The old frame weighed in at 28 pounds, 8 ounces, and the new frame weighs in at 28 pounds, 8 ounces. What do you know? So if you think about it, the new bike does add a dropper post and it has a 2x drivetrain, so I was glad to see that they didn't increase the weight.
All right, so I mentioned there are two versions of the Straggler. This one is the GRX version, and it has Shimano GRX 610 2x12 drivetrain. The color of this bike is subtropic algae green, And the wheels on this bike are WTB I-25 wheels, which are a little nicer than on the other model. The tires are 700 by 45 millimeter, and this bike will retail for $24.99.
All right, the second bike is the Q's Straggler, and it's going to use the same frame, but it has a Shimano Q's 1x11 drivetrain. The wheels are Alex rims, and it's running Surly Canard tires, 700 by 41. It does not have a dropper post, and the color is shaggy carpet, and this bike will retail for $1,999. So I think this bike is a better comparison to the previous Straggler just in terms of spec, and that bike retails for $1,699. So we're seeing an overall price increase of $300, but I'm sure a lot of that has to do with tariffs. We're seeing prices increase across the board, and that's just the world we live in at the moment.
All right, so now I want to go through some of the things I like and dislike about the new Surly. So let me start with the things that I really like. First of all, the new frame design. I think that's a big upgrade. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the ride portion of this video, but I just think the new modern design has a much better feel. It looks great. The tube diameters on the top tube and the down tube are a little bit larger than the old Surly. I think that's just gives it a much better ride quality. I also really like the thru-axles. I think it's about time. I'd like to see some of the other Surly bikes go to thru-axles. All right, one of the other things I really like about the new Surly are the cable routing. Because this bike has flat mount brakes, they're able to run all of the cables under the down tube and into the flat mount brakes back here. So on the old Straggler, they had to run the cable under the top tube and down the seat stays to the post mount disc brake. And I just think this does not look near as clean as the new brake setup. So big fan of that. Also, just the small details around the thru-axle here. I appreciate that. Another small detail is the rack mounts back here are integrated, whereas on the old frame we had braze-on rack mounts. So, you know, a lot of those small details do make a difference for me. Another thing I really like about this bike is the color. On the GRX model, we have subtropic algae is the color, and I think it really looks nice with the gold stickers. All right, the other thing I really like is the drivetrain. The Shimano GRX drivetrain 2x, I think it's a great choice for this bike. I'm glad to see them put a 2x drivetrain on this bike. Also, the Shimano Q's 1x drivetrain is also a very nice drivetrain. I'll do a review on that when we get that bike in. All right, so let's talk about the few things that I'm not in favor of on this bike. The first thing is the fork. I really like the fork design on the old Straggler. I just think the detail here is much nicer. It's also unique. Not a lot of other Surly bikes have this fork design. The new fork is basically the same fork that they use on the Midnight Special and a lot of the other bikes. You're really not losing much functionality here. Obviously you're gaining the thru-axle, but it just, from a aesthetic standpoint, I like the old look a little bit better. All right, just one other item, minor detail that they left out that I'm not in favor of, and that is the Fatties Fit Fine sticker. So we noticed this on the last Ogre upgrade, no Fatties Fit Fine sticker. Not sure why it's not on there. You know, if you think about it, when Surly put that sticker on the bikes, they were really leading the way in terms of putting fatter tires on bikes. Now everybody's doing it, so maybe they feel like it's not relevant anymore. What do you think? Why do you think they removed the Fatties Fit Fine sticker? Are you in favor of it? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. All right, I'm taking this bike out on some varied terrain just to see how it feels. And first impressions, the new geometry definitely feels a lot more modern. Feels like a gravel bike and less like a road bike. Especially you feel when you're climbing or descending, just that slacker front end just feels much better. It really feels nice. This bike is a 56, which I normally ride a 54, so it's a little big for me. That may be influencing my ride a little bit, but definitely feels confident, feels sharp. Running on some pretty rough gravel right now, and yeah, feels very stable, confident. So one of the things I've always loved about the Straggler is the stability of the ride. So just, you don't have to try hard to keep it going in a straight line. You go over the rough stuff and it just wants to go straight. And I feel the same way about this bike, although the handling just seems a little bit better. The front wheel just feels like it's a little further out. And when you turn the bike, it just feels a little bit more confident. So yeah, if you want to do a shortcut through the woods, this bike can take it, no problem. It's definitely not a mountain bike, but not a problem rolling over light single track. All right, guys, so that's what I think about the new Surly Straggler. But we want to hear from you. What do you think? Let's get the conversation started in the comments below. Let us know what you think about the new Straggler. And lastly, if you like this video, stay tuned. We're going to have more Surly stuff coming up. For one, we're going to be reviewing the new Q's Straggler as soon as we can get our hands on one. And also, we are going to be starting a new series. That's right, we've got a Surly Straggler frame, and we are going to be building it up with a custom build similar to our Bridge Club build and our Midnight Special build. We're going to call this series Building the Best Surly Straggler. So that's coming up. We're going to get started on that right away. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to keep up with all the good stuff going on here at Ottawa Bike and Trail. And lastly, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch our videos, and we'll see you in the next one.